On today's show, it sounds like Donovan Mitchell is in the best headspace he's been since he's been with the Cavs. I think that is a very good sign for this team. We'll talk about that. Plus, Jaylon Tyson's role with the Cavs this year, how he's looked in camp, and Lonzo Ball. We've heard a lot of good things about him. How is he going to be used? We'll talk about all that and so much more on this Monday edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham, and welcome into another edition of Locked On Cavs. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers at my Substack, The Inside Shot, and thank you for making today's edition of Locked On Cavs your first listen, and thank you to all the everydayers out there that make Locked On Cavs their first listen every single day. You can find the podcast anywhere you get them, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Please make sure you are subscribed to the show. That is the very best way you can help. And also, we are on YouTube. If you're watching right now, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button for us. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5. And if your first $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Donovan Mitchell met with us on Friday down at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. I was there. I flew back Friday night, so I've been in Cleveland now for a couple of days. And I thought what Donovan had to say at his first media availability of the preseason, and I do think that this is a different type of media availability than a media day, for instance. Like media day, I think you get a lot more bigger picture questions. You will also get some questions that maybe don't matter quite as much. Like you will just see things that come out of left field a little bit on media day. And sometimes there are people that are asking questions that are not around the team every day. So I do think that these types of settings, the type of setting that he had on Friday, where he was answering questions from the local beat, I do think is a very important place to start with this season, because I do think that he has appeared to me, and this was true on media day, but I think it was more true on Friday. He has appeared to me as somebody who is a little bit more introspective than he's been in the past. And I say that while also thinking that in the 3 years that Donovan Mitchell has been in Cleveland so far, the 3 seasons he's played for the Cavs, he's been awesome with the media. He's given very detailed answers. He's a very thoughtful person when it comes to answering these questions, and he doesn't have to do those things, but that's the way that he's handled his business. And he is, as somebody that's on that side of things, as somebody who is writing off of every game and looking for quotes and wanting to make sure, I'm getting every side of the story and things like that. Donovan Mitchell is somebody that I have without question appreciated because he's been so good with the media while he's been here. And I thought on Friday was one of the most interesting sit downs that he's had, one of the most interesting availabilities, I guess I should say, that he's had since he's been here with the Cavs. And this is also sort of on the heels of, if you think back to what he was like after the Cavs lost to the Pacers in the first round last year, he talked about how everyone was going to just write about them all summer and talk about them all summer and how they failed and things like that. And I mean, to an extent, he was right, but I don't think that stuff matters to him the way that it might have in the past. And I think one of the things that he talked about was that he has found balance in his life, that he has found he's in a very good mental space. Like he has started to, I think, give himself grace in a way. And I believe that is the term that he used. I think he said giving himself grace, because grace, balance, all those things, like they just kind of all to me are in the same category of headspace, if you will. And Donovan being in that headspace, I think does a couple of things for the Cavs. And the one thing that I do think is worth noting here, or at least worth remembering at the start of this, is that the Cavs are going to go as Donovan Mitchell goes. Now, he doesn't have to be the best player on the floor every night. Like, this is a very good team, and he can certainly afford to have off nights, and the Cavs can still find ways to win. Like, there's not this gigantic burden on his shoulders as far as basketball stuff goes on a night-to-night basis. But I think it's very fair to say that he is the leader of this team from an emotional standpoint, from a vocal standpoint. He's still the best player too, which is something that maybe gets lost a little bit because this team is so good. But the Cavs are going to go as Donovan Mitchell goes. And that is different to me then the Cavs are going to go as far as Donovan Mitchell takes them. I don't think those are the same things, but I think as you look at needing maybe a barometer for how the team is in terms of a mood and stuff like that, I think Donovan Mitchell is a very good one. And I think that he is in the best headspace that he's been since he's been with the Cavs. I think that going through what the Cavs went through last postseason, and maybe even too, Donovan growing up a little bit off the floor, right? Like he is engaged to be married now, and he is not quite 30, but he's not 21 anymore either. Like he's still on the right side of 30 if you're looking at things that way, but he's also not 21. He's not 22. He's not a young guy in the league. Like he, to me, is somebody that I look at as should be in their absolute apex athletically. Like I am expecting Donovan Mitchell to go out and have the best year of his career because I think he's at the peak of his powers this season. But I also think he is the most mature person that he's been since he's been in the NBA. And I'm not saying that he has not been a mature person because I do think he has been, but I think that that has gone to another level this year. And I also think while talking about that, I think he knows what is at stake this year, but the fact that he seems to be at peace with it, at ease with it, knowing that there are these larger goals in mind, but you can't race to them, right? You have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy the journey, if you will. And he used the quote, trust the process, the way the Philadelphia 76ers did roughly a decade ago. Now that process for the Sixers was vastly different than any process these Cavs are going through, because that was the process of let's lose as many games as possible. And the Cavs are certainly not going to do that. But I think that the process of this season is going to be something that the Cavs are going to enjoy. And I think they're going to enjoy that because of where Donovan Mitchell is at right now. Now, not everything is going to be a smooth ride. There are going to be ebbs and flows over the course of an 82-game season. I don't think that is some sort of breaking news here. I think if you watch NBA games, like you understand that. Certainly if you listen to the show, you understand that. But I think that because he is such a tone setter for this team, almost as it's a mindset that we have to see it play out. And he has talked in this way before, but I don't know that he's quite lived it in this way before, at least not in the way that I expect him to this year. But he would quote Ricky Rubio saying, never too high, never too low. And that is something that Cavs legend Ricky Rubio embodied throughout his career, whether it was in Cleveland at the end or in Minnesota or in Phoenix or in Utah. That was what Ricky embodied. And I expect a little bit more of that from Donovan this year. Now, that doesn't mean there are not going to be moments where he's, amped up. And it doesn't mean there's not going to be moments where he's upset, because it's not fair to expect a human to suppress their emotions like that. And I think that ultimately would be a bad thing if that were the case. But I look at this and just say, I think the Cavs are going to get the best version of Donovan Mitchell that we've ever seen in terms of the combination of on-court stuff, what I expect of him as a basketball player, how I expect him to play this year, the things I expect him to do on the floor, and the leadership side of things. I think that mix is going to be the best that it's ever been. And I think that is one of the absolute best things for the Cavs going into this season, because they know what is at stake this year. This is a team that knows it's sort of championship or bust here. Like maybe you could make the case that this would be a successful season if they get to the finals. I could listen to that. But I also think that if they don't get to the finals, it's not a successful season. I think that is a pretty black and white thing. Again, dependent on what happens in terms of injuries. But I think that's a pretty black and white thing. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, that wouldn't be a success. But knowing that that is the goal, you can't accomplish that goal in October. But what you can do is you can start to build the correct habits. Because one of the things that I asked Donovan about on Friday was, Kenny mentioned earlier in the week not being on cruise control. What does that exactly look like? And I think that they're not going to come out and say just like, yeah, we are going to be in the playoffs. Now, they expect to be in the playoffs, and they will be in the playoffs because they are so talented, but they're not looking at this as hey, we can just roll the balls out into the playoffs. And, when we have to get ready to go, we will. Like, we can flip that switch. I don't expect that to be the case with this team. Everything that they're saying, everything Donovan said on Friday leads me to believe that this is a team that knows they need to build the correct habits, that they need to be a team that goes about things the proper way during this season. And I do think there were some mistakes made on that front last year heading into the playoffs. Now, some of those mistakes were injuries, and there's nothing you can do about them. Some of them were, I do think Kenny Atkinson could have done a better job as far as that goes. And I think that he would be the first to tell you that he could have done a better job preparing the team for the playoffs at the end of the regular season. But I think that they're not going to skip steps. I think they're going to set little goals throughout the season. Like, are they up 20 in a game? Keep it a 20-point lead. Are they down 20? Find a way to come back. I think they're going to be these little goals that they set throughout the season. And not all of these goals are going to be made public, and I don't think they should, and I certainly would not expect them to. But I think that those are things that we're going to see, partially because I expect Donovan to be the best leader he's been. And when your best player, which he still is right now, again, maybe a year from now, we're having a different conversation about things. But I expect him to be that guy. And I just think that they're going to try and be a physical team. I think that's a habit they're going to try and build. I think that they're going to try and really count on the mental aspect of things. Like, they're going to need to build that up. And they know they need to build that up. Everyone that has talked so far, including Donovan on Friday, has brought up needing to mentally push through things. I think they're going to try and find spots in the regular season. And again, it's not going to be an every night thing. But I think there are going to be spots in the regular season that they need to push themselves mentally. And I think that will be a really good thing that will pay off for this team in the long run, because another common message from Donovan and others is that talent is only going to get you so far. And I think the Cavs are the most talented team on paper in the Eastern Conference. I really, truly do believe that. But that doesn't get you to the finals. We learned that last year. We have learned that in the past. Just being the most talented team does not get you to the finals. And I think that they're going to need to improve the mental side of things. I think Donovan Mitchell knows that. And I think Donovan's leadership is going to be something this year because of how he's grown as a leader, how he's grown mentally. I think that is going to be something that helps them achieve their ultimate goal. Now, a thing that we are going to see early in the season is Jaylon Tyson. I expect him to have a role. I'm going to talk about what I've been hearing about Tyson and how he's been so far in practice for the Cavs through 1 week of training camp. We'll talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. But first, today's show brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined because Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and, most importantly, reach peak performance. The Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. And the swivel screen is a game changer because you can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged so you get workouts tailored to your vibe and your energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. That is ONE Peloton, PELOTON.com. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. And Jaylon Tyson is probably not going to be in the starting lineup for the Cavs on opening night, and he's probably not going to be a starter given the Cavs' health at any point this year. But what Jaylon Tyson is going to be is a key contributor to this team. He was drafted with the number 20th overall pick in last spring's NBA draft, or I guess last summer's NBA draft. And for all intents and purposes, he had a redshirt season last year. And I say that knowing that he did play. Like, typically when you think of a redshirt season, you think of a guy that doesn't play, but the redshirt rules in college have changed to where now you can play like 40% of your season and it just doesn't count. So that's basically what Jaylon had with the Cavs last year. And when Kenny Atkinson and Kobe Altman spoke at their preseason media availability almost 2 weeks ago at this point, Kenny talked about being very excited to see what Jaylon Tyson was going to do this year, because he's somebody that has really been a hard worker. Like, I think the easiest compliment you can give Jaylon Tyson is that his work ethic is just off the charts. Like, he is somebody that anytime you bring him up, whether it's to Kenny Atkinson or another player or somebody else that works for the organization, they talk about that he is one of the last guys routinely to leave the gym. Like, on Friday at IMG Academy, we were wrapping up media availability with Kenny Atkinson, and this was, I don't know, a half hour after practice ended, and Jaylon Tyson was the guy that was still on the floor. Like, he was the last one to leave the gym, and that is a very common thing with him. Like, it's a surprise if he's not the last one on the floor, which I think is a good thing. I do think that there are some times where the Cavs might need to try and protect him from himself a little bit, because you don't want to overdo it. But I asked Kenny about this on Friday, and he said about Tyson that he's taken a step physically. He's always in great shape, but he looks stronger. His finishing at the rim is better this year. Sometimes he did have some problems last year finishing at the rim, but that is an area where I would expect to see him improved. And Tyson told Atkinson that his shot feels as good as it's ever been. They do track shootings during open gym, like during drills and stuff. They do track that types of things. And Atkinson said that he was the fourth best in a recent open gym, which, given the roster for the Cavs, like, and yes, it's an open gym, so it's not the be all end all, but the Cavs do have a lot of really good shooters, even if two of them right now in Max Strus and Darius Garland are not available because of foot injuries. So I do think that that stuff is a really good thing. Now, Jaylon Tyson is going to have a role this year. And what Kenny Atkinson has said about him, what Donovan Mitchell has said about him, what every player that's been asked about him has said about him, has been very good things. And I have heard good things from behind the scenes, that Tyson is doing a lot of the right things, that he can fill a need that the Cavs have. Like, if you look at the Cavs roster, and I've had this conversation quite a bit, primarily about DeAndre Hunter and like him playing the power forward as opposed to the small forward, because that creates a rebounding deficiency. And that is one area where I look at Jaylon Tyson and just say, hey, he could really help out the Cavs, just because he is somebody that is, whether you want to call him like maybe a little bit of a smaller wing, listed at 6'6", although I do think he's pretty strong and can make up for some of that in that area. Or you could call him, theoretically, I guess, a bigger guard. Although I don't know that he's quite that, but he is a good rebounder for his size, which is something that the Cavs very much do need. So I think he can come in right away and fill that need when he's on the floor. If the shooting is there, that is something that could really make him not just playable, but a key piece for the Cavs. Like, that to me is his pivot skill, is how well of a shooter he is. Like, if he becomes a good shooter, let's say he shoots 38% from three this year, which is probably a bit of a high bar for him to clear. If he does that, he's going to be awesome. Like, he will be so good for the Cavs. He will be everything that they need to do. Now, the one thing that I do think needs to get better with him is not necessarily his decision-making, but how quickly he makes the decisions. Because the guy he was in college, and even the guy that Cavs fans remember from watching Summer League, is different than the guy that he's going to be on October 22nd when he takes the floor against the Knicks. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you go back and watch what he did at Cal, one, he took a lot of shots, and that Cal roster was not very good. Jaylon Tyson was the NBA guy on that roster, was not a good basketball team at all. But he took a lot of shots. He handled the basketball quite a bit. Like, that was his primary role. He was essentially, for Cal, a point forward. Now, he was very, very good at it, but that's what his role was. And then let's go back to Summer League in July out in Vegas. And Tyson had a good Summer League. I thought he played very well for the Cavs, but he was also not in the same role that he was going to be in. And part of the reason why Craig Porter Jr. I was so excited to see what he was going to do at Summer League, who is, by the way, another guy that has received some compliments through preseason camp. Just worth noting there. Not necessarily going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but Craig Porter Jr. has done well from what I've heard. But Tyson being out there was supposed to be in a role closer to what he's going to experience with the Cavs this year. And then Craig Porter Jr. has the hamstring injury in the summer and can't play Summer League. So Jaylon Tyson essentially needed to become the point guard. And that, like, he played well and he can do that, but that's not the position that he's going to be in. So I think if there's one bad habit that he needs to break, and if there's one thing that I do think the Cavs would like him to do a little bit better, it's almost play a role, right? Because it can be a difficult thing to adjust from being a star player, which Jaylon believes he can be in the NBA. He told me as such last year, like he believes he can be a star player still. But going from being that in college and being that on the summer league team to I need to set screens, I need to make open threes, I need to play good defense, all things Jaylon Tyson is very capable of doing. But he also needs to do those things while having the basketball in his hands a little bit less frequently. That to me is going to be the thing. If yes, the shooting is like number one, because if he can shoot, he's just going to be somebody that can always be on the floor. But is he going to be able to thrive without the basketball in his hands? Because if you look at the Cavs roster, if you look at the guys he's going to be on the floor with, well, who would you rather have the basketball in their hands? Donovan Mitchell or Jaylon Tyson? Easy answer. Evan Mobley or Jaylon Tyson? Easy answer. Darius Garland, Lonzo Ball. Like I can go on and on and on. And that is part of the issue here, is that there are so many guys that are better at that one skill than Jaylon is. Not to say Jaylon's not good at it, but you would rather have those guys. So I think for him to be successful, that is going to be the one thing that's a growing pain this year, is maybe he needs to dribble a little bit less. Like that is the one thing that I look at and say, if he does this, if he makes shots, which like almost goes without saying in the NBA at this point, like if you can't make shots, it's hard to play. Like you have to be just extraordinary at other things to be on the floor without being somebody that can make shots. But also maybe a little less dribbling than what we've seen in the past. And I think if he does those things, the Cavs are going to be very happy with where Jaylon Tyson is. And I think that fans are going to be very happy with how he looks when he's on the floor. Now, another guy that I've heard good things about has been Lonzo Ball. And I expect Lonzo to have a big impact in the Cavs, but I expect them to do it in a way that maybe looks a little bit different than what you think of when you think of Lonzo Ball. We'll talk about that next, right here on Locked on Cavs. But first, today's show brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. The Cleveland Browns did not win on Sunday morning. I told you they were not going to win on Sunday morning. They also lost by 4. They did not cover on Sunday morning. And I'm sad to say, I told you they were not going to cover on Sunday morning, because the team that is in Europe for a longer period of time almost always wins that game, and they almost always cover in that game. Now, we've got Monday Night Football, because we've got Kansas City and we've got Jacksonville. Kansas City on the road, -3.5. I just like Jacksonville. I don't think they're good. I really do not think Jacksonville is good, but they have found a way so far to win some games. But I can't do it. I could not, in good conscience, tell you that I think Patrick Mahomes is going to lose to Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to win by a touchdown. Yes, it's on the road, but I think Kansas City by a touchdown on Monday night. So I will take KC -3.5. You could do that if you want. If you've never made a $5 bet before, that could be your first. And if that hits, $300 in bonus bets are yours. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you again for making Locked on Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show on YouTube. And if you are watching, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked on Cavs content. Lonzo Ball so far has had a good training camp. He has done a lot of things well. I think he has been the guy that the Cavs assumed they were getting. And Lonzo, most importantly, is healthy right now. He went through the summer not having any health issues that I'm aware of. And he said he had a normal summer when he spoke at Media Day. So I will take him at his word as far as that goes. But that has obviously been the thing that has hampered his career, have been the injuries, right? Like you don't need me to sit here and tell you that, to know that, because he is, as I have mentioned so many times on this show, he has played 70 games over the course of the past 4 seasons. Now, injuries are always going to be a concern with him, because with Lonzo, or with anybody, this is not a Lonzo specific name, but with anybody, the best indicator of future injuries is your injury history. which does not bode well for Lonzo Ball. And you can pull up his basketball reference page and you can see, okay, played 52 games as a rookie. That's not great. Missing 30 games your rookie year. Played 47 his second year. That's also not great. His third year, played 63 in what was a COVID-19 shortened season. That's good. Did not miss a lot of games that year. Played 55 the next year in what was also a shortened season. I believe that would have been 17 missed games that year, which is not terrible. And then, as I just mentioned, played 70 games over the course of the past 4 years with 35 and 21-22, 35 this past season, and 0 games in between them. Now, the thing that I think is important when talking about this is, why has Lonzo Ball gotten hurt? Like, some of this stuff is just unfortunate. Some of it maybe because his body is not built to play 35 minutes a night. And I look at this and say, well, the role he's going to be in Cleveland is going to be a different role than anything he's had through a full season of basketball in the NBA. Because when he was drafted by the Lakers back in 2017, he was expected to be the franchise point guard. No question about it. Like, that is what he was supposed to be. So you look at that, okay, he played 34 minutes a night as a rookie. That's a lot. Then he played 30 minutes a night in his second year. Then 32 his third year, 31 his fourth year, 35 his fifth year, which was his first in Chicago. That, to me, probably has something to do with the injury history that he has. And this year, I think it's fair to say, given his comments, given the fact that Cavs have talked about having a plan for him, Lonzo Ball is not going to play back-to-backs for the Cavs this year. I feel very confident in saying that. Like, I would be very surprised if he plays both ends of a back-to-back at any point this season. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it would be very, very surprising to me if that were the case. And I also look at this Cavs roster, and I look at how many minutes there are to go around, right? Like, the Cavs have a lot of really good players, and Lonzo Ball on the depth chart is the third guard at best. He might even be the fourth guard in terms of minutes played this year, because Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, when they're both healthy, and we know Darius is going to miss the start of the season. We don't know how much time still he's going to miss, but we know that he's going to miss the start of the season. Those two are going to play 31, 32 minutes a night in all likelihood when they're fully healthy. Sam Merrill is probably going to play, I would imagine, somewhere between 22 and 25 minutes a night. And his role is much different than what Lonzo is going to be. But I expect Lonzo Ball to play somewhere around 22 minutes a night for the Cavs. And if Lonzo Ball is playing 22 minutes a night, I think that makes the likelihood of him being able to be durable throughout the course of the season so much higher. And I think that the Cavs have very high hopes on Lonzo because of, one, what they've seen from him in training camp so far. And two, I think because what his skill set is going to make everybody on this roster so much better. And I think in a lot of the situations that he's been before, whether it's been Chicago in that first year, New Orleans, or Los Angeles with the Lakers, there was a lot more expected of him. Like, he was somebody that until that bad injury, which started, I believe, as a torn meniscus, until that injury in Chicago, he was thought of as a franchise point guard. And for 5 years, he had those expectations on him. And Lonzo Ball is not thought of as a franchise point guard at this point. It would be irresponsible to think of him as a franchise point guard, given the injury stuff that I've talked about. But if you look at him and say, hey, this is our third point guard on the roster, because Darius is number one, Donovan, truthfully, is also kind of number one, kind of number two, and then Lonzo Ball. The onus on his shoulders is so much lighter. Like, he does not have to carry a burden for the Cavs that he had to with the Bulls, that he had to with New Orleans, that he had to with Los Angeles. And he did some really good things there. At all three of his stops, he did good things. And I look at this and say, well, what the Cavs are going to ask him to do, I think Lonzo can do all of the things that he's always done. Just do it in a little bit of a shorter spurt. Like, do it a little bit with, one, more help around you, because this is far and away the best group of talent that he's ever been around. Like, not even close. So I look at that and say, transitioning somebody from a guy that was asked throughout his career, again, to be a franchise point guard, to saying, hey, you're going to be a great role player. I think that is something that's going to go really, really well. I think it's gone well so far. And I think integrating somebody like Lonzo Ball might not always be the easiest thing. But I think because he's a defense first player and somebody that I have talked about that can help to make the Cavs a defense first team, like legitimately a defense first team in a way they were not last year, and playing his role, I look at him and we have heard the phrase, and it gets used, I think, a little bit too much at this point. We have heard the phrase, be a star in your role. How many times? By how many coaches? In how many situations? A lot, a lot, a lot. Lonzo Ball, to me, is going to be the epitome of that. He's going to be the perfect star in his role. I think that this year, by the time April rolls around, if, and again, it's a big if Lonzo Ball can stay healthy, I think we will be talking about him as one of the best role players in all of basketball. And I think so far, things are trending in that direction. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you for hanging out today. Tomorrow, the Cavs play basketball. The Cavs have a preseason game tomorrow night. We will talk tomorrow morning about what to look out for, what we're expecting. Cavs Bulls tomorrow night at Rocket Arena. I will be there. Wednesday's episode, we'll talk about what we see. Very excited about it, but I believe the Cavs are going to have practice on Monday. So I will have things from that. And then we will talk about what to expect as far as the preseason game number 1 goes in Cleveland against the Chicago Bulls. So thank you for making today's edition of Locked on Cavs your first listen. Thank you for making it your first listen every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Make sure to drop us a 5-star rating. Please subscribe to the show. That is the best way you can help grow the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, as we get out of here, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked on Cavs content. I'll be back tomorrow talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.